Hello, 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 everybody. Welcome to Torn Tuesday, your weekly dose of all things Lord of the Rings. My name's Justin, that's Cliff, and we've been doing this show for over 12 years. The OneRing.net is 22 years old, and we're now in our third phase of movie TV fandom, and we've got some exciting things to talk about. It's the holidays, Cliff, and I'm so happy you're here. Of course, and we are live every week, every Torn Tuesday at 8 p.m. Eastern, and on YouTube and Facebook and Twitch. And I see the Chiv Knight and Monica and Cecilia. Aruvandi is here. Some wonderful friends of the show, friends of Torn, and the power of this community. The Lord of the Rings fandom is all over the place, and it's got some wonderful voices all over. But we like our little corner of the internet. And oh, what happened to your audio? I'm s- I'm so sorry, guys. Uh, it was working 2 seconds ago. The audio. Hold on. All right, hold on. Let's see. Cliff. Oh no, you disappeared. Yeah. All right, hold on. Now I can't hear him. What happened? Like, how did we get this working right before show, and now that we're live, it's not working? Hold on. Ah, wow. All right, I'm working on this. Hold on, folks. Desktop audio. Does that work?
Here.
Oh, I heard you for a second.
Hello, can you hear me now?
Wow. No, that's not right.
No, I guess that we're going to get this fixed at some point, ladies and
Did that work? No, that did not fix anything. I do. Yeah, I hear Cliff. Ha! One sec, folks. Same as system. Audio. Same as system. I haven't changed any of the settings than we normally use. One second. Bose headphones default.
Okay, we're going to.
Is
I'm
it
really
working?
going to.
Magic hands?
Hey, I can hear you fine. Let's ask the chat room.
Let's ask the
Um,
chat room. Chat. Double check. Triple
do
check.
you hear audio now? Question mark. Send.
Loud and clear, says Twitch. Thank you so much, Twitch.
Very
Uh,
good. Thank you, everybody on the interwebs, for putting up with the gremlins in the microwave, as I was
that.
saying just
Oh,
a
I'm
second
so
ago.
sorry. All right,
No,
reboot.
but
Let's
reboot the show.
reboot.
Let's
Welcome
reboot the
everybody
show.
to Torn Tuesday. I'm Justin. This
And
is the
I'm
host,
Clifford.
Cliff.
Hello
That's
there. Nice to
Cliff.
see you guys. Yes,
Clifford.
we can hear each other, and you guys
Yes.
can hear us, which is a good thing. We needed that thing. I
Cliff,
was just
you have been documenting Lord of the Rings fandom ever since Ringers Lord of the Fans. Um, have you noticed
mm,
that fandom is more united now because of the internet?
no, no. I would
Hmm.
not necessarily say more united. I might say um, more united at the same time, also more fractious. Only because, you know, decades and decades ago, the only thing that was available was for fans, hardcore Tolkien fans, to publish newsletters and make little imprints in their own garage and mail them around the country. You know, that's all there was. Literally, that's what it was. So people weren't always aware. They didn't have this heightened awareness that we do
Right.
now, you know, and to have that that mental, you know, focus of there's a lot of Tolkien fans out there who are very, very attached to these stories. And you know, that exploration has always been fascinating, but there are ways that people appreciate Tolkien in many different ways from one another. And I think now that we've gotten to this fourth major, you know, film, TV world adaptation, we're in a whole new arena that has maybe let the fans know that there's some stronger variance in opinion than maybe we ever really thought of before.
Is there though? Because the second biggest market for Lord for the Hobbit for the first 10 years of its release was Germany. It's like UK was the number one market, and then Germany. What was going on in Germany between 1937 and 1945?
Oh yeah, I know that vague, that
So
very vague
the fandom has
historical
always
period
had
that you're referring to.
a diversity of opinions, shall we say?
There's also the fact that in Brazil and in Africa and in Asia, there's this huge pop culture take on J.R.R. Tolkien, which is probably something that has to do with the the larger success of Peter Jackson's films from 20 years ago.
Well,
Maybe.
one of the reasons I was asking you about fandom is being united is this movie, The Two Towers, came out 20 years ago this
Absolutely.
week,
Big
and this
anniversary for the film. Yes.
so it's the 20th anniversary of The Two Towers. Why does it want to blur? Um, and I thought we would show you all of the features of the full screen theatrical edition of this. This is the original edition that got nominated for Oscars. This is the first cut of the movie. This is the full screen, not widescreen. This is the square full screen TV version of Lord of the Rings: The Two Towers on the 20th anniversary. This came out
Pan and scan.
pan and scan
Believe it or
SD
not.
standard def. It doesn't get any better than this, does it, Cliff? This is
No,
this is
it
as
doesn't.
original as you can get. This is OT original trilogy with
It doesn't
before
get
the
as-
special editions.
It doesn't get as grainy as anything else. That's like watching an old rundown VHS tape. That. And you miss half the picture. Half of the picture is missing because the camera is trying to be box framed into 4:3 here and there. It's
Well,
awful. It's
but
awful. Are you kidding?
the segue is Two Towers. Cliff, correct me if I'm wrong. Two Towers is the most divisive of the trilogy when it came out. People stormed out of the theaters over this film.
Over that film, The Two Towers? I thought you were talking about
when Frodo and Sam end up at Osgiliath,
Ah,
and Sam starts giving a speech
There's-
by all rights we shouldn't even be here. We had staff
Yes.
members walk out of the theater.
yes, but also yes, there were people who had strong opinions, but I don't think it was as upsetting and polarizing to people as the second chapter of the Hobbit trilogy. I think when
Whoa, that's
there was-
10 years later. Let's
But the
talk about 20 years ago, the
10
Lord of the
years that
Rings
passed
trilogy. This was the most divisive of Peter Jackson's original trilogy.
That's an interesting take. I got a feeling that a lot of people were posting things online saying how much they loved it. There were some nerd comics that came out that referenced it as I'm getting back in line to see the Two Towers over and over again. And it was like people were comparing it to The Empire Strikes Back. People were comparing the middle chapter of Lucas's great trilogy to the middle chapter of Peter Jackson's great trilogy. There was a lot of energy and adoration for the Two Towers.
But there was a lot of debate. I mean, Faramir is unrecognizable. There's no Boromir. They don't give Christopher Lee a proper send off. There's a ton of changes in this.
You know what I thought was missing most? I thought the movie was going to end with the choices of Master Samwise, because that's the chapter that ends the book. But we didn't know there was such a major time manipulation that Fran, Philippa, and Peter had done. In the Two Towers movie, they literally avoided everything of the approach to Minas Morgul. They avoided everything about the high pass, the stairs to Cirith Ungol, and they avoided everything with Frodo, Sam being led by Gollum to the spider, Shelob. All that stuff was something I expected to see in Peter Jackson's movie, and it wasn't there at all. So, yeah, there were some people saying, what the hell is going on here? We had some scratching our head moments when we saw the Two Towers, but then we realized, oh, all of that chronology of the story is evidently going to be pushed into the third film, and we had another year to wait. That was right. The mental space was,
Cecilia
why are they making
room,
us wait another year? That was the mental anguish, the anguish we all felt.
What do you mean make us wait? They told us up front, up front. They told us up front that this would be 3 movies over 3 years. There was no surprise.
But that
Cecilia in the chat room wants to add that Two Towers, the changes are not divisive, but controversial. Do you... that's a great turn of phrase. Not divisive, but controversial. Do you feel that applies also to Rings of Power?
No, I don't think that applies. Excuse me for clearing my throat, but there was nothing so much polarizing around the Two Towers, but there were some question marks about where's this huge chunk of the book. Massive chunk of the book was missing from Peter Jackson's adaptation, but there was such a depth of satisfaction with the way Helm's Deep was resolved and the destruction of Isengard.
Oh, the elves at Helm's Deep? Talk about ruining the Return of the King's epic moment. The final epic battle where all the races unite. Why did Peter ruin that moment from the books where there was final unification?
You know, I'm pretty sure he said it in the commentaries, but you know, we even talked about that a little bit last week. Peter was touching on the fact that in Fellowship of the Ring, he spends several minutes talking about the last alliance of elves and men. So here comes our boy, Haldir, right? And there he is, saying, once upon a time, men and elves honored one another.
So it's controversial, but not divisive. Why do you think Rings of Power is divisive? And is that the show's fault, or is it the community's fault?
No. You're getting into an area where there's a conflux of many circumstances. Justin, it is not as black and white. It is certainly not as black and white as the way you framed the question. So forgive me.
Fair.
Forgive me for
let's not go even there. Adelante in the chat room wants to say PG's greatest sin was killing Haldir.
That's a very good criticism, but I think it's one of the more fascinating things is that Peter Jackson does kill Haldir and then spends a lot of time with the boy being very confused, and the film slows down. And he seems to be looking around him at this bizarre fate of his mortality, as if I'm not supposed to be dead. I'm not supposed to be dying. I'm not supposed to face this moment of mortality, and yet here it is in front of me. It is really kind of cool that the Haldir character is given a death scene like that, because it backs up a lot of the cinematic representation of elves being immortal versus men who are not, and that's a really interesting thing that Peter did in that moment where Haldir died. But take a look, the conversations we have online are just a lot more polarized and crazy than they ever were. But that's just the general nature of the internet itself. It's got nothing to do with our fandom. That's just the nature of the beast. That's the horse that is there, and everybody's on the internet, and that's the way it is. But the sense that fans have with one another is that they're far more interested in respecting one another because of this overriding respect they have for the books and the original works of Tolkien. So
That's right.
you can get into a little bit of a debate with someone about the quality of Peter's adaptation. You can get into any other number of debates about the quality of the Rings of Power adaptation. You can even go back in time with someone like me, of my generation, who would talk about Ralph Bakshi's adaptation and, the merits and the demerits and what was really bad about it and what was really good. But anybody in the room will probably stop short of dehumanizing or degrading anyone in the conversation, because it all comes back to this really big overriding major factor. And that is our academic, literary, book level appreciation of Tolkien, and that is unshakable. Our book lovers energy, you could call it that, the book lovers vibe, the idea that the power of his original storytelling is so effective and so profoundly humbling. It humbles a lot of us. The experience that you have denied yourself, Justin, my dear boy, my dear co-host and producer, and it is still, perhaps, as I reflect on it now, a bit of a shame that you have still denied yourself deep satisfaction of reading, turning those pages, and immersing yourself into the masterful storytelling that abides, just like the dude in that Coen Brothers film. J.R.R. Tolkien abides. Okay, well, with that quality in our fandom, I don't think there is any such weirdness on the internet that we couldn't overcome. Seriously, there's no weird polarization about it that we can't meet and greet and break bread together and come back to the original love for Tolkien that we all have. Really.
That's right. Nerd of the Rings is in the chat room. Hello, Nerd of the Rings. He says,
Hey.
Haldir is a great example. It's a big change, but it's done so well and speaks directly to the themes present within the books.
Mm-hmm.
Cliff.
That's very good, Matt. I agree with that. Thanks, Matt. And it's good to see you. Hey, Nerd Cookies. Hello. Lovely to see you here. Of Gondor, Susan. Look, there's Cecilia. Hello, Finrod, 84. I can see everybody there in the live room. Look. This Two Towers thing that came out didn't upset me the way that the Desolation of Smaug upset me, okay? And here's what's missing, okay? At the end of the Desolation of Smaug, what was missing was a confrontation with the dragon. Smaug coming to
there
his
was
own...
no desolation by or for or of Smaug.
Yeah, well, there was
the title
no fate.
was was a misleading title.
In a sense, because, the Two Towers denied us a final confrontation with the spider, Shelob, and I can live with that.
That's right. Yeah.
I can live with, gotta wait 1 year, but it was a bit of anxiety, and there was a tiny bit of impatience, because everybody was so satisfied with the Fellowship of the Ring, and the wild success of Peter's trilogy was cemented with the financial and critical acclaim of the Two Towers. When that movie came out 20 years ago, everybody knew that this stuff was top tier cinema, and that they were going to go for all the Academy Awards. And by the time The Return of the King was out, and we knew it was a year off, But that little bit of anguish that I was referring to was simply because of how good we were getting it, and we were all impatient for another revolution of the Earth to go around the sun, so we could go back to movie theaters and see Return of the King. And but the thing is, it's like I was kind of pissed off at Desolation of Smaug that we didn't get to have that big final confrontation with
All
the
right,
dragon.
well, back to Two Towers. One of the
That's
most
just
controversial things I
That's just
remember
me.
from hardcore fans. Like, as a casual person, I'm like, what's the big deal, dude? But, Cliff, do you remember, we're on the bonus disc of the Fullscreen Two Towers, Fullscreen Theatrical Cut Edition. This is 6 months before the extended editions even made their way. So the bonus features include all the TV spots. Now, Cliff, do you remember the controversy of including Gandalf the White in the trailer?
What was controversial about it? Because they had re-released.
That's a huge spoiler. He's dead, according to everybody that saw Fellowship.
Don't you remember the re-release of Fellowship that came out with about 5 minutes of the Two Towers added on as a bonus, and they spoiled it then? Don't you remember that, Justin?
No, nobody does. That's what I'm saying. The trailers
yes,
for
they
the
do.
Two Towers spoiled. The trailers for the Two Towers spoiled it. There was a teaser.
Yes.
Again, we're not playing these with audio because copyright cops would get us, and I
they
definitely
did.
believe.
Well, they did spoil it, but also by the time they released the DVD, there was Gandalf the White on the cover of the box, and that spoiled it too. For the people who hadn't gone into the cinema, isn't he on the poster? Is Gandalf the White on the theatrical poster?
No,
for the
it
Two
was
Towers.
Two Towers. It was Two Towers,
Oh.
and it was Aragorn and Liv.
I'm looking it up now.
Yeah, there were several posters, but I can tell you the theatrical release did not include, and it wasn't until the trailer where we saw Gandalf the White. Cliff, I'm asking you this because Gandalf the White being revealed in the trailer caused a big commotion with hardcore fans because that is a big Tolkien shock surprise in the books when they run across Gandalf the White and he starts to remember his name. So
it caused a lot of debate and concern, but you understood why they did it because Ian McKellen had just gotten an Oscar nomination for playing Gandalf the Grey.
But hardcore fans, I remember our message boards at the were lit up over the incredulity that Gandalf would show up in this teaser trailer. It's like everyone, regular audiences, and they even end it right here. Like they end the teaser trailer with it.
Yep, because that meant box office dollars.
Look at that. Fade to black, and then the title. The journey continues.
That image of using Ian McKellen's face as Gandalf the White was a direct equivalent to dollar signs.
This was not the theatrical poster. This was not the theatrical poster. Nerd of the Rings, thanks for playing. But Cliff, I want to ask.
I'm telling you seriously, it was understandable because all of a sudden Ian McKellen was no longer an obscure Shakespearean actor from England. All of a sudden he was box office gold. Do you understand?
So is there any comparison to be made over the fact that Rings of Power did the opposite and refused to say Sauron's name in any of their marketing and refused to even acknowledge Sauron's presence in the first season until the final 20 minutes of the last episode?
Until the final 20 minutes of the last episode. Was it episode 7?
Episode 8. 7? No, it was the end. Remember? Like he gives him a gift. He gives Celebrimbor a gift of, hey, here's how you met. And then he reveals himself. And then he teleports to Mordor because teleporting is a thing.
Rings of Power. Yeah. Okay. I get it. So how about that? How about that? There's a big difference in marketing approach. A very big difference. And I would also say a recognizable difference in withholding information from the audience. J.R.R. Tolkien withheld all the information from his characters in the book, The Two Towers, until that chapter, The White Rider, where it was revealed carefully through the storytelling that Aragorn, Legolas, and Gimli come to realize who they're with, who they're standing with. And it is certainly, no, it's just not something that the publisher would have used, like, hey, guys, come back and read this second book so that you can see Gandalf come back. That would never have happened. But, perhaps it's unfortunate that a lot of the that's where they did all the editing back then. Wow, that's when they edited that film. Isn't it just crazy?
This was on the original full-screen theatrical cut of Two Towers, which is celebrating its 20th anniversary this week. And this is on the DVD. There is a little feature for Return of the King. This is basically our first look ever at Return of the King, and fans salivated over every frame. Is that Shelob? What's she look like? Is she gonna talk? Like, there were so many questions. We obsessed over every frame. We had frame breakdowns of this trailer.
We did. Wow. You know how cool. That does sum up. You know what is weird is that none of these extras that you're showing us right now were ever reproduced again on any other video.
They're not on the 4K box.
Nope.
They're not on the Blu-rays.
Nope.
They're not even on this.
Hey, are they on that? What about that big, massive boxed set where they just repackaged everything? That doesn't have them either, does it?
No, I have it over here. It's not on there. None of these features are on there.
Wow. Well, I tell you,
this is more shots of. Now we're at Return of the King shots.
Yeah,
that was the big preview of Return of the. Oh, and there he is, like describing what we're about to see. See, this is, I don't know. This is kind of what I miss about Rings of Power. Like, they're shooting season 2 right now. Like, go ahead and give us some stuff. Whoa, where did that go?
So how do you say I'm the one that you must follow?
Go ahead and give us some of this goodness. Like, we know they have some big sets. Like, yeah, it might be home video and grainy and everything like that. Paths of the Dead. But look, Peter is already explaining. Here's what I wanted to really focus on: is that this movie comes out 6 months before Return of the King, and Peter Jackson is already explaining the decisions he's making in the movie The Return of the King. He told us in advance what he's going to do. He told us in advance that timelines are going to be compressed. He told us in advance that he's placing characters in positions that they haven't been in the books. Like, Peter tells everybody in advance before we even get to the theater, 6 months out, how much kind of what he's changing and why he's changing it and why they have to put the orc battle here and why they have to do that there.
And why they have to do the choice, the big famous closing chapter of the book is the choices of Master Samwise. And that is what we thought was going to be a emotional, very emotional, dramatic ending to the film. And it's not there. It was not there at all. So, yeah, Lucy had some splaining to do. And Peter Jackson was, as you were saying, he was willing to explain.
Monica in the chat room says, isn't this the extended edition appendices? No, Monica, these are all features on the full screen, pan and scan, square version, theatrical cut of the Two Towers. These features will never included on any of the Blu-rays, extended edition, bonus features, or the 4K box set that we have over in the corner.
So this is a weird little curio that you have, Justin, and the fact that you have it and are keeping it is going to make it like a keepsake, a collector's keepsake. That was our first view of the bigature of Minas Tirith.
Wow. Do you remember seeing that for the first time?
I remember seeing it in person. I bedded in New Zealand, and I saw this amazing bigature in real life right in front of me. I remember being blown away by it so much. Do you know?
But people try. Oh, there's Mark.
Oh my God, was he ever that young? He was just a baby. Mark Ordisky was just a little
coming
baby.
back.
Oh my God.
Cliff, I keep coming back of why did Rings of Power shock us in the way it did? Why did Rings of Power, for a lot of people, become a disappointment? And I feel like this is a clear example of the theatrical cut bonus feature includes. Look, they're mapping out the armies and where they go. I feel like
look at a baby Christian Rivers. Oh my God, he's
Christian
a baby.
Rivers ended up directing the Mortal Engines movie. That
yes,
Christian Rivers.
Yes, he did.
But I just want to say that these previews 6 months before Return of the King, where Peter's explaining his decision-making process, set us fans up for success, right? It set our mood. It set the tone. He took ownership. He's like, hey, you've read the books. I'm making my movie, and I'm going to change some things. And we were prepared.
I agree with that. Yes,
we were prepared.
Yes. And we were far better prepared than we were with the Rings of Power. And I also agree with what Matt, Nerd of the Rings, said in our chat, that the little bit of 6 minutes behind the scenes that we got from Rings of Power was weak sauce. And it's because you're looking at this stuff that was given, to the audience. This is it's obviously my personal joke to say this is more fun than we deserve. But really, it is the amount of fun and behind the scenes that we do deserve. We do, as at that point, those movies had been so supported, lovingly supported by the fan base. And Peter's response to that gratitude that he had was to give the fans a bigger taste of something more before it actually came to
He
the
didn't
theaters.
mystery box his own movie. He basically said, look, I want to show you everything that we're doing here in New Zealand. Here, let me show you as much as I can right now. Let me tell you why we're doing it this way. Like he was the exact opposite of J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay, of like trying to keep a secret on everything. And it did a disservice to the show and to the fans. Like, tell us where you're going, and we'll go along with you.
Yep, that's one of the number one rules in talking to an eager, thirsty to engage fandom. We're not the type of fandom that wants to keep everything at arm's length. We're the type of fandom who wants to fully engage. And
we want to support your show, Amazon. Give us every reason to support it. And support your own show. Like, look, they're like this. Look at this stuff. They're already showing us mocap. Like, this is not nominated for any awards. This was on the theatrical bonus feature, and it's already longer than the bonus features that we got for Rings of Power already.
You know what's interesting is all this previs is really, really remarkable when you know what it looks like a year later after Return of the King.
These were teases,
and there was just a tease, just a little bit of that mocap and those blocky, barely integrated block forms moving in a computer field of nothingness, and taking a look at a bunch of dudes sitting at IBM computers as they're sitting there with the difficulty of making motion capture work. And an anonymous horse is jogging by with the little digital dots on his hooves. It's not spoiling the story. It didn't really spoil anything at all. It was just a delightful insight into a bunch of hardworking Kiwi filmmakers. And
Cliff,
really,
do you agree
really
with
effective.
this statement? Chrissy G in the chat room says, take us on the journey and adventure. Tolkien's stories are about adventures and journeys, not mysteries.
Yeah, that's true. That's actually kind of true. Because, it feels like a road trip. It feels like a road movie, and people change and evolve across the entire journey and perhaps it's unfortunate, but the Rings of Power is lacking a central journey focal point. There's not a focal point of a road movie. It doesn't even resemble that at all. It resembles a different approach. And as a fandom, we are acclimating ourselves to the television approach, which doesn't include the road movie element, doesn't include everybody traveling hundreds and hundreds of miles and having their spirit and their lives changed dramatically because of the journey. So it's almost as if J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay have a harder task in front of themselves. You know,
so
it's
these are all the bonus
harder
features.
To do.
We showed you the theatrical trailers, the TV spots, which you saw there was about a dozen different TV commercials. Emiliana Torini's Gollum song music video, which did not get a lot of play on things.
Play some of that. Play a minute of that, just like a second of that. I'm gonna
sure. Special edition DVD preview. So this previews the Two Towers Extended Edition before they called it Extended Edition. Behind the scenes preview of Return of the King, which we were just watching, and of course Return of the King video game preview from Electronic Arts. Let's take a look. Oh man, at the time that these DVDs were coming out, my day job was making DVDs for other movies. I did not get to do Lord of the Rings. And knowing how DVDs are made, I can tell you that this was top tier, very expensive production. Like, they spared no expense. You want to talk about Amazon's $1 billion budget? Warner Brothers spared no expense in making even the theatrical full screen pan and scan cut, the best cut. Non-extended edition was. But
they weren't Warner Brothers at the time, were they? They were still just New Line.
Well, it was under the Warner Brothers banner, but it was still. I think it was still put up a Warner. No, it's New Line. There's no Warner Brothers logos on the back of this. It's all New Line.
That's right. That's right. You know what? This Emiliana Torini, that's her name. Emiliana Torini. This video does not feature any footage of her at all, does it?
Wrong.
It's just clips.
Wait.
Where is she? I want to see where she is. That's what I'm looking for.
And for the record, folks, I do not.
Oh, there she is.
I do not believe that this music video is on any of the 4K extended edition packs that you can buy right now, and I don't think it's included on any of the bonus features on the digital versions.
Can I be honest? I have never seen this footage.
You've never seen this?
I have never seen this footage of her, and she is such a lovely, lovely recording artist, great songwriter and performer, and I've never seen any footage of her relative to this song for the film.
Is it on YouTube, folks? Is Emiliana Torini's Gollum song on YouTube? Because if it's not, maybe I should just upload this.
But I never looked for it. I never looked for it because if it wasn't... And the reason why I've never seen it is because I didn't want the pan and scan version. I didn't want that. I got the other edition. I wanted the widescreen. I got the full widescreen edition. That's what I had.
Cliff of Gondor wants to remind us that there was a limited edition release of Two Towers that had both discs on a single physical disc that you flipped over.
Oh gosh, yes.
So it was a disc that was silver on both sides.
Yeah,
and all you did was flip it over.
How about that? It's too bad that it wasn't Bjork. I love Bjork. Always one of my favorite recording artists, the goddess of Iceland. And she had a really amazing turn in that recent film, The Northman, because that's really awesome.
Oh yeah, Bjork was amazing in that.
Yeah, she was really awesome in that. And I thought she was going to show up in The Green Knight because that was also an amazing film. But no,
all right, back to the menu. So we've got theatrical cuts. Emilia Torini. There is on the set of Lord of the Rings, the stars special. It was a TV special. I wish Rings of Power did that. I wish Rings of Power gave a 1 hour special to another network. That would be fun, wouldn't it? If we just had like a 1 hour HBO special behind the scenes. Return to Middle Earth WB special. What? I don't remember what that is.
That was when the WB had their own network, and they called themselves the WB.
Oh, that's right. The WB turned into the CW. The long and short of it is a short film directed by Sean Astin, and then there's a making of the long and short of it. And then, Cliff, there's a thing called LordofTheRings.net features. So you're telling me that New Line had its own official website with video?
Mm-hmm. Sure. It was the OneRing.net most of the time, where
LordofTheRings.net.
Yeah. But I was saying that the fans had their own web portal. That was the One Ring. But the official New Line Cinema web portal was LordofTheRings.net. And that is where they had a whole bunch of cool stuff going on.
I don't think the long and short of it is on the extended edition discs, is it?
Not that I recall. I'd have to go pull that box over there.
Should I go take a look
and pull the box?
Maybe we should call Sean Astin next week and see if he wants to do a live commentary of the long and short of it.
Oh my gosh, that would be a great little Christmas broadcast, wouldn't it?
It's 7 minutes long, it looks like.
Yeah. Do you believe Christmas is only 5 days away? I can't believe it.
Monica says the long and short of it is not on the Blu-rays. It's not on the extended edition. This is exclusive to the theatrical cut of. You know what? Give Sean Astin an episode of Rings of Power, please. Just let him direct some Rings of Power.
Yeah, I love it.
Wait, is that Andrew Lesnie?
Oh my gosh, it is our wonderful.
It's the DP.
It's our dearly departed Andrew Lesnie.
He's the Oscar-winning director of photography. He's a character in Sean's.
And he's dealing with this ladder that's busted and it's not safe. And Andrew Lesnie, I love him so much. This is so great.
What a unique talent.
This is so great.
A crazy talent. This is amazing.
I love this little movie, and I haven't seen it in so long.
What is he shooting on? Do you think he borrowed some 35 millimeter cameras? Like, because you couldn't really buy a HD digital camera at the time, could you? Like, they were shooting on 35 millimeter for Lord of the Rings.
Do you know the guy on the bench is Tall Paul? And the other actress here is one of the photo doubles for one of the Hobbits.
She's the size doubles for the Hobbits, yeah.
She's a scale double. And there's the other tall guy who is sitting there on the bench is he's the guy who played the scale double for Gandalf and some of the other tall humans. Yeah. Oh my goodness gracious. Oh my goodness gracious. This is so cute. I miss Andrew Lesnie so much. I'm going to cry. This is so cool. It has been ages since I've seen this.
She was Pippin's double. That is Pippin's double. Look at that.
That is my favorite shot when he comes into the frame. When Paul comes into the frame, and then there's the three of them. You can see all three of them together, and it's just so great.
That is Pippin's stunt double, and that is a size double, and that is Gandalf's size double. Look at this. How charming. How charming.
She was Pippin's double. Oh my goodness gracious. Let's look her up. What's her name? Well, her name is going to show up right here at the end credits. This is such an adorable little short film. And
Sean, you've already got at our heartstrings, at our emotions. Sean, you've made us laugh, you made us cry,
You made us smile.
You made us smile. Sean Astin for Rings of Power. Make him a director.
Yep, absolutely. And then the three of them step back, and it is it's the wombat. This stupid freaking car with more leg room for the uncommon man. Oh my gosh, this stupid car. This is the cutest little movie, and I'm so glad that Sean Astin got some of the folks to help. They just had a break. They had a break in between filming. And he's like, let's just
during
do this.
Christmas.
Yeah, this is super, super awesome. I love this so much.
I have to believe that during COVID lockdown, the cast of Rings of Power did something familiar. Oh, who's the bus driver?
Guess who the bus driver is?
Oh man, look at all that Oscar-winning talent on screen.
And does he pay? He pays for all their fares. And oh no, come on! There's some cute. Was there a Lord of the Rings poster on the side of that bus, or am I mistaken? And then Sean carefully pans back
amazing
to the glue pan in the trash, and this is awesome. That was so awesome. Sean Astin is awesome, and I want him to come on and do an audio. He should do an audio commentary with us. He really should.
A star-studded cast. Story by Sean and Dominic.
Oh no, Dominic did the story with him on that?
Of course, because that was Pippin's stunt double.
Oh, it's
Andrew Lesney.
Fawn Chansantor. Her nickname was Fawn Chansantor.
Co-producers Jamie Selkirk. Look how much it takes to make a short film like this.
Did you see that Elijah Wood was in the credits? Scroll back. Elijah Wood was in the credits. Elijah Wood had his name in the credits as an executive assistant or something. Oh my gosh, that was super awesome.
Special thanks to Billy Boyd for his musical inspiration.
And special thanks to Peter Owen and to everybody who gave their time, energy, and support. What an adorable little film. Sean, you win. You win, Sean.
La
Boheme. Yes.
I have to believe that when everybody was locked down and sequestered and in the bubble, I have to believe that the Rings of Power cast did similar things. Like, where is that magic? Where's that magic? Like, this is so charming.
They've got years and years left to work out things like that. If they want to.
All right, so they're making.
They want to do it. They can.
So these are the bonus features. I wonder if there's anything on the regular DVD.
Do you know how intriguing it is that there was this separation of extra materials? You would obviously want to buy one other disc set so you could get access to the other features. And if the other edition came out, which was not pan and scan, it was widescreen, you would want to have access to those features separately. It was a very carefully calibrated plan to milk us of every dime and every dollar that we had. Very deliberately calibrated plan.
Well, let's see. So do you remember that the problem with DVDs is that if one got a tiny little scratch anywhere, it just wouldn't ever load or play. And I think that might be what's
one of the problems
here.
you have right now. You might have to reopen the tray and try again. So I'm delighted to see you digging through the past.
Well, I told everybody that we would look at all the bonus features, which include revealing the secrets, short film directed by Sean Astin, all the Lord of the Rings.net featurettes, exclusive 10-minute preview of Return of the King, Gollum song music video, and DVD ROM content. I don't have a DVD ROM in my computer anymore. I have to find this next week, folks. Next time I will find a DVD ROM because
There's
There's
other
gotta
content on there.
there's other content. All right, so I don't think
That's
this
funny,
is
Monica.
working.
Monica, you're so funny. That's adorable. That's really quite adorable. I love that.
Folks. Well, there you go. That is the full screen theatrical cut, not to be confused with the extended editions, which everybody loves in DVD and Blu-ray and 4K. Is this the Blu-ray? This is the DVD. This is not the Blu-ray. This is the DVD. So this came first. 6 months later, this came out, and then there was a Blu-ray, and then we have the 4K over there on the shelf. So
It's super cool.
I just one final thought on returning to this 20th anniversary this week of Two Towers.
I gotta say how delightful it is to relive some of these moments with you. It's really delightful. It really is.
But I am frustrated with myself, Cliff. I am frustrated.
Tell me, my brother.
I was so hyped for Rings of Power, and why didn't it click for me? Why didn't Rings of Power click for me? I even got a t-shirt of it. And looking back at these bonus features and the trailers and the marketing and how they marketed the Two Towers and those original movies, they prepared us. They 2 years before Fellowship came out, they gave remember that internet preview where
Yes.
Peter Jackson's
Yes.
the technology is here, now is the time, and we saw the horse rigs, and it was we saw nothing except like people on horseback, right?
We saw 1 or 2 seconds of the cave troll animatic.
Right. The Finrod says in the chat room says the writers are not good. See, I disagree because the writers room is full of some of my favorite writers from my favorite TV shows. Now, these TV shows are not for everybody, but I loved Hannibal. I loved the Red Dragon story on Hannibal, which Richard Armitage played the Red Dragon. There's your Hobbit connection. I loved Breaking Bad and Better Call Saul. I loved the Game of Thrones. I loved these shows that the writers' room worked on, and the episodes they made their name on for those other shows were some of the best episodes. So why did this not click? And I think part of it is we just saw it there, Cliff. We just saw here we are 6 months away from the release of Return of the King, and what do they do? They give you 10 minutes of Peter Jackson saying, guys, I'm changing a lot, but it's going to be okay. Like, you won't believe what we're doing. It's never done before on this scale. And look, Rings of Power could be saying the same thing. Guys, look, we're going to places you've never seen before. Television has never done this at this scale before. Wait till you see where we're going. We have to compress the timeline. Gandalf is on his adventure. Like, we have to introduce that area of the map that you've never seen before. There's so much that Rings of Power could be doing to prepare us. Yeah, and I
hear you on that.
Okay,
I hear you on that point.
That's my soapbox.
I hear you on that point. Well, there's a lot that the writers did that I really loved and appreciated in the Rings of Power. About 2/3 of it, maybe. But maybe about 33% of the show, maybe, roughly speaking, I got a feeling that I didn't take a shine to it. I was not appreciating the mystery boxing of Sauron's identity or the stranger's identity. And I was looking for more specifics from Tolkien's appendices and even from the Fellowship of the Ring. Listen to this. Listen to this right here. I'm going to read you a couple of sentences from J.R.R. Tolkien, and then I think Rings of Power, if you're listening, you'll understand what fan expectations were about. Then all listened, while Elrond, in his clear voice, spoke of Sauron and the Rings of Power. and their foraging in the second age of the world long ago. A part of his tale was known to some there, but the full tale to none, and many eyes were turned to Elrond in fear and wonder as he told of the elven smiths of Eregion and their friendship with Moria and their eagerness for knowledge, by which Sauron ensnared them. Let me read that again. And their eagerness for knowledge, by which Sauron ensnared them. And that's what I was expecting. The only reason why anybody in the Tolkien fan community was expecting that kind of stuff from the Rings of Power was because it's in the Fellowship of the Ring, it's in the appendices, and we learned quite a bit about it in the Silmarillion. And realizing that Amazon Prime Video does not have access to the Silmarillion or any of that stuff because of legal issues. Still, I didn't expect Halbrand to be a mystery boxed pretend version of Sauron. I expected other relationships between Anatar and the elven smiths of Eregion. And, you know,
you can't outsmart the fans. You can't outsmart the viewers, and you shouldn't try to outsmart the fans. Cliff, I'm happy to report.
I think I said that once on the air. Yes, you should not try to outsmart us. Yes, you should just tell the story that's in the books, right? But we'll get there. We're going to get there.
Cliff, breaking news. Amazon has announced publicly that they are listening to Lord of the Rings fans' feedback. And we can exclusively report here that, yes, we have been reporting, the OneRing.net has been reporting our feedback back to the studio. And the studio chief says that's what we're doing. Quote, "We set up our own study with thousands of people, among them thousands of Lord of the Rings fans, to have a conversation with them as each episode dropped to understand how they were reacting. We were doing as much of a 360 comprehensive look to really understand it. And I think we got a lot of those Lord of the Rings fans, both fans of the books and fans of the movies. We also know that there were some fans who had issues or didn't feel like this is what they were expecting or done in the way that they expected, and that's natural. I think whenever you take on something that's so beloved, you're going to have probably a strong reaction for and have some people who just aren't on board."
And ain't that the way?
Well, Cliff, back to Two Towers 20 years ago. Some fans were not on board with the changes, but they were on board with the experience of the movie. Why?
Why?
Why do they overlook the changes to the lore in the Two Towers, where they don't do that to Rings of Power?
Oh, wow. Well, this is certainly worthy of analysis. It is definitely a big open-ended question, Justin, that is probably worthy of another 90-minute show somewhere. But if you want to get into the why of it, you know what? Why don't we invite J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay to come and join us live here on Torn Tuesday, where they could actually sit with us and we could talk about that connective quality, where people want to be connected and then find themselves not always there. Do you know, I think the Book of Boba Fett also had that problem, where a lot of people really wanted to be connected, but then some things were missing and they weren't always there. And then suddenly it became a different show. It became some other show about other characters from the Mandalorian series.
Well, and Book of Boba Fett, the first rule of Boba Fett is you never take off your mask, and he spends that entire series without his mask on. So I get it.
Yeah.
I get it.
Yeah. So, but I mean, I could talk for months and months about why fandom, the general fandom, is attached to these stories, to these pages, and to the literary genius of J.R.R. Tolkien.
So, okay, all right, let's do a smaller question.
But we have an appetite for popular culture as well. But we're measuring two different things, and they cannot be measured with the same measuring stick, is what I'm
Got
saying.
it. Yeah, I understand. So
Okay.
Amazon is listening to the fans' feedback. They have a whole research department. Cliff, what does that? What changes? What needs to change? No, let me take that back because that's a long conversation. What?
I love the way you're doing this. I love this.
How do you feel they should incorporate the fan feedback? In general. In general, like they're listening to fans. They have questionnaires going out. I think some people in the chat room might even be part of those questionnaires. The OneRing.net is part of those questionnaires. So, how do you incorporate that feedback? Do you hand these notes to the writers and say, JD and Patrick, start rewriting, or do you hand this to the department heads and say, hey, fans don't like the look of this? Or is the fan reaction so universally about the writing that you really have to rewrite?
I never hear anybody in the fandom talking about the cinematography or the costumes, the production design, the music, the visuals. No, people are just complaining about the story and the elements of characters and stories representing very well or not representing very well what they're familiar with. Okay? I don't hear complaints about the tech department or the visual effects. I mean, people like to make jokes about the Chihuahua warg, that warg moment where it looked a little bit like stop motion, maybe. I don't know. But I had an idea. What do you think of this? How do they get us fans comfortable with the idea that the showrunners are listening and are really clued in to what we're talking about as fans? What do you think if we propose a town hall? Would that be a cool idea? Right? Remember how weird and stupid it was when they had those super influencers and they flew them out to Mallorca and got this footage of them saying, oh, I'm so excited about the show. Remember how badly that was received and how stupid that was? Why don't you take that very idea, but turn it on its head? Entirely revisit the idea of collecting fans together in a town hall where JD and Patrick could be on stage as the featured guests. And everybody in the audience could be guests from different parts of fandom around the world. And
well,
then they could,
Cliff, Peter
they could
didn't
raise their hands and they could answer questions.
But
Peter
didn't do that.
Idea.
Peter
never did that. No one's ever done it. And that's why it would be so cool, because no one's ever done it.
Why don't they just do what Peter did, which is like, get on camera now and give us a 10-minute, here's what we're doing. We're hearing, we're listening to you. Oh, that's what I want to hear as a fan. I want to hear the showrunner say, guys,
that'd be a lot
we hear
easier
you,
than what I'm
we're
proposing.
listening, we're going in, we're on a path. That doesn't mean the path cannot deviate. We can. We're listening to you.
I think an open town hall experiment might be the most ballsy, really cool.
That is the worst idea you've ever had in the history of worst ideas. Plausible Denial in the chat room says, I cannot trust a group of fans in a room yelling questions. I would absolutely not like that at all. That sounds terrible. The last person I want.
I think it'd be really kind of cool to have a very intelligent town hall open conversation where people just say, hey, what about the Ents? What about Tom Bombadil? Or how do you feel about mystery boxing as a reliant, idiomatic piece of storytelling? And they could actually say, we would rather rely on other idioms of storytelling instead of that one. They could have an opportunity to talk about what they want to do. I think it's a fun idea.
The last thing I want to say about this news is that it is good news. It is really good news that Amazon is listening to Lord of the Rings fans' feedback.
Yes.
It is not great that this is being communicated to the press by the head of the studio and not the showrunners themselves. Like,
yeah, that's another aspect of that. Yes.
Like, why did they? Why is the head of the studio saying, "Hey guys, we're listening to you," and not the showrunners who are actually in charge? Cliff, moving on. last Wednesday, right after our show, they announced 3 directors for season 2 of Rings of Power. We had teased that up, didn't we? We had teased up 3 of the directors. They're all women. Charlotte Brandstrom, of course, did the big volcano episodes last year of last season. The 2 volcano episodes.
The big action-packed episode 6.
Yeah, 6 and 7. And the new ones are Sana Hamri, who Amazon loves as a director of Wheel of Time, and Louise Hooper. So Hamri's got the biggest resume. She has directed a ton of music videos for Mariah Carey and moved on to doing Wheel of Time last season. So expect more of Rings of Power to look and feel like Wheel of Time. Whether that's
Do you know what's really funny? There was a meme. There was a comedic, really funny meme. It was harmless. It came out right after Thanksgiving, and it featured the explosion of Orodruin, Mount Doom, from that episode of Rings of Power. And somebody had photoshopped a little picture of Mariah Carey in her Santa Claus kitten outfit from that
exploding from the mountain.
Yeah, and they said she is coming, and it was funny. Like we all knew that the Mariah Carey Christmas song was coming. That was a really funny meme. I like that.
Louise Hooper, the 3rd director for season 2, has directed episodes of The Witcher, as well as 2 episodes of The Sandman, including the well-received bonus episode of The Sandman, which was about a writer and his writer's block.
Calliope was. Can I tell you what a beautiful and well done bonus episode of The Sandman that was? First of all, nobody expected Netflix would drop that additional material on their streaming platform. We thought they had finished the entire major story arc of The Sandman, part 1, where he recollects his objects of power, and then they did the story arc of A Doll's House, or The Doll's House. And then it was over, and that was the end of the season. But here they come with this double story in an episode. The animated segment was not directed by her. It was a story of The Dream of 1,000 Cats.
Yeah, we're talking about Calliope, the live action.
And it was broken down to about a quarter of an hour for one thing, and the other one was about 45 minutes.
They were 2 separate things, but Calliope is the live action. It was about writer's block. Am I correct?
It actually was about a guy who no longer had the spark of his writing imagination, and so he kidnaps and abuses the daughter of Zeus, Calliope, who is actually one of the 9 muses. So, in Neil Gaiman's Sandman story, in that episode, it's a subject of her, a beautiful, beautiful Greek demigoddess, one of the muses who inspires human mortal kind, but she is kept and held prisoner against her will. It is a very delicate, difficult story. It is very emotional. It's really powerful, really powerful. And do you know what, Justin? About a week ago, I got the chance to bump into the actress who played Calliope in that story, The Sandman. I bumped into her at none other than Scum and Villainy Cantina here in Los Angeles. And I also bumped into Mason Park, who plays Desire. Of the Endless. Yeah. And
so, but that episode of Sandman is one of the most well-received, and it is. You know, someone in the chat room said, I feel like they don't understand Tolkien. I can tell you right now that Hooper understands Tolkien, and she understands writing and drama and the gaze, the right gaze, Gaze. I am excited about Hooper directing what's her name, Louise Hooper joining season 2. I don't know about Mariah Carey's music video director and who's done Wheel of Time. Like,
Yeah.
Neither of those things, any of those things, scream what I want for Tolkien. But let's
Yeah.
see. Let's. Cliff, other news. I teased it while you were talking about the warg, but the
Yes.
visual
Tell me.
effects
Pull it up.
supervisor on the show asks, "What's up with that warg? Why does he look like that?" And Jason Smith, the visual effects supervisor on the show, says, "It's one of those creatures that I knew we could make a werewolf." Is this true? Are there werewolves in Middle Earth?
Yes, they're mentioned in the Silmarillion. It is not the same. I don't think it's exactly the same type of lycanthrope that we know as Professor Lupin or the other famous werewolf, the Wolfman from the Universal monsters.
Would you accept that warg is a werewolf?
But it was named as a warg.
Right.
By Adar. Adar named it as a warg.
Yeah.
But there's a werewolf that Sauron turns into in the Silmarillion. So yeah. Yes.
They said so basically Jason Smith says we could make it a werewolf, or we could copy what it done in previous movies. But neither of those things were exciting. Doing the werewolf would certainly be fun. But what was really exciting to me was the opportunity to say, what would an orc's pet giant dog monster be?
Yes.
So even at the production stage, they wasn't clear whether this was going to be a warg or a dog or a werewolf or anything.
I refer to Otaku Senpai in our YouTube chat, who says Tolkien's werewolves are essentially very big wargs with greater intelligence.
Well, there you go.
There you go.
We have it here, folks. You guys might have guessed this, by the way, but we looked at some videos of chihuahuas.
You did not. You did not pull up some
there it
chihuahua
is. There
footage.
it is in print. The visual effects supervisor says we looked at videos of chihuahuas. When their owner comes to pet them, they'll start this face. It's the scariest thing you've ever seen. And then they start fighting their owner.
Yes, that's the funny look that warg was giving off. That's exactly hilarious.
That
is so
is a chihuahua, folks. So we have it confirmed here for the first time.
It really is a chihuahua.
The rabbit chihuahua. The
chihuahua with mange.
The chihuahua.
The chihuahua with mange. It definitely had chihuahua eyes. Yes, Monica, it did. Oh my gosh.
So there you go.
Funny. That's too funny.
He ends this part by saying, "Luckily, we were with WETA effects when we needed the digital double, and it was right there." Now, so there it is, folks. The questions are out. No more mystery boxing. What the wargs are inspired by? It's a freaking chihuahua.
That's hilarious. Gotta love it.
The other big news, and I think we spent way too much time looking at Two Towers because this week was huge. Avatar: Way of the Water is WETA's big new show. And right now, you can see right here, visual effects supervisor, directed by James Cameron, visual effects supervisor, Joe Letteri. Cliff, he's been on every single Peter Jackson movie, right? All 6 movies.
That's the first... as soon as the end credits rolled for Avatar: The Way of Water, I looked at my partner and said, "That's Joe Letteri. That's him. That's our guy from Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogy." It's the first thing I said. I didn't care about anything else. I was just like, "That's him. That's our guy."
Well, guess what?
You know what?
He's not the only one.
Further, there's hundreds of people we know from WETA. Hundreds and hundreds of people
we were able to get these photos of the credits. Armorer Peter Lyon.
Yeah,
who is Peter Lyon?
Well, he makes swords for the Lord of the Rings and the Hobbit trilogies. He's doesn't he make swords? He was one of our guests. He came on our live stream and shared his skills with us. He's a genius. So Peter Lyon worked on all of the weaponry on Avatar. Also, look at all of these design and concept artists. You'll recognize Paul Tobin.
Lindsay Crummett, Andrew Baker, Gus Hunter. All of these names should be familiar to any Lord of the Rings and Hobbit fan. But Cliff, the one that I'm most proud of, folks, right there in the credits of Avatar, the Way of Water.
You almost said it. You
almost said it.
You almost said it, dude. You almost said
The Way of Water.
The Last Waterbender. The name of the movie is really The Last Waterbender, just so you know. Okay, go ahead.
Hannah Greenwood is right there on the big screen. Our little Hannah, who you've seen co-host many moons ago and has been with us at all the conventions, is got hired at WETA and is in the credits.
Hannah. Can I say congratulations over and over again to my dear friend Hannah Greenwood? I officiated her wedding. It was so lovely. So lovely. And I'm very proud of her. You know, she was our co-host and friend, continued friend here at The One Ring after all these years. And well done, Hannah, for being in Avatar: The Last Waterbender. It's so cool.
Of course,
so cool.
WETA Workshop updated their website to show that they did Black Panther, Wakanda Forever, Avatar: The Way of Water, Megan, which comes out soon, the Way of WETA. And folks, this is breaking news. WETA Workshop has built the bear for Cocaine Bear.
No, the Cocaine Bear was built by WETA?
Yeah.
No way. Guys, the Cocaine Bear was built by our friends at WETA. Do you believe that? I'm shouting
Cocaine
this
Bear
to
is
my roommate.
WETA Workshop, not WETA Digital. WETA Workshop is doing Cocaine Bear.
I can't do Cocaine Bear. I can't do Cocaine Bear. Do you know why? I have a threshold for stupidity, and that might be it. Cocaine Bear might be my absolute threshold.
Folks, I just want to say, Avatar, the Way of Water.
You did it again. Avatar: The Last Waterbender.
Avatar: The Way of Water.
The Way of Water.
Oh man, Cameron, why did you have to do that, folks?
Oh gosh,
Way of Water. Avatar. WETA, as far as we understand, what we've heard is the WETA set of companies are invested in the success of Avatar. Making Avatar a success doesn't just make James Cameron rich; it makes WETA Workshop rich and sustainable and able to keep employing those artists in between films.
That's right.
Right? Because, WETA has to get a movie and then they finish a movie and then there's maybe 3 or 6 months downtime. And, people, they have to pay their artists. So Avatar took 10 years to produce. Avatar: The Way of Water took 10 years to produce. That's how long WETA has been working on it.
But also keep in mind, over all those years, they've been shooting all the other footage for additional Avatar films. They filmed a lot.
Movie, they shot movie 2, which is now in theaters. Movie 3 is completely done. It's shot. It's done. They're they've shot it, and they've shot the first act of Avatar 4.
Yep, that's right.
So
ready to go.
Basically, we expect next Christmas to get possibly Avatar 3. I've seen it. I saw it on IMAX in 3D. It is one of the most beautiful, spectacular movies. And I will tell you this, folks.
It is beautiful. It is really awesome.
I was worried because remember when The Hobbit came out in 48 frames per second, high frame rate, 3D, HFR?
Oh, I vividly remember that. Yes.
And everybody went in to watch The Hobbit and was like, this looks like a British sitcom. This doesn't look like Lord of the Rings.
It looks like a Spanish telenovela, was what they also said, too.
That's right.
Because video. It looked like video instead of looking like film.
I can tell you right now, Avatar: The Way of Water is in high frame rate 3D. It solves the problems that The Hobbit had. I don't know how they've done it, and I don't know that the creative decisions that went into it. But some parts of Avatar are 60 frames per second.
Yep,
Some of them
they
are
are.
48 frames per second, like The Hobbit, and some of them are 24. And you see, even between different shots in a scene, it'll go from 24 to 60 to 48, back to 24, back to 48. This film, you may think you're watching a 60 frames per second movie, and then it'll drop to 24. Gamers might think, oh my god, it's losing frame rate, like there's a buffering issue. It's not a buffering issue. The movie was made like that. So the movie changes between 24, 48, and 60. It is so well done. Much better than The Hobbit did. But Cliff, I want your opinion. Did it work this time?
Yes, it worked quite well. It worked quite well. And it wasn't, it wasn't jarring or anything, but because I knew what to look for, I could see there were moments in the edits where they were changing the frame rate. And the reason why I think it worked particularly well is because the human eyes have time to adjust quickly to see the vivid details of these wide action scenes. And then he'll cut in and go back to regular 24 frames per second in a dialogue inside a room or dialogue inside a tent. And it becomes much more familiar because it looks film-like. So sometimes those changes are perfectly timed, and you notice very little of it because you're so caught up in the vivid colors, really vivid. Yeah. The spectacle of the colors and the technical placement of the camera for some of the shots are just mind-blowing filmmaking. And there's also some interesting stuff to enjoy about the storytelling. It's discussion of ecology and the environmental concerns that are in Avatar, The Way of Water, is something that J.R.R. Tolkien would appreciate. Because
the messaging, and it was more clear,
really clear. Yeah,
it
Go ahead.
Cliff, I hate to say this, but when I walked out of Avatar after the environmental message that movie has about a particular, and it focuses particularly on one environmental aspect. I'm not going to spoil anything. You guys just it's a wonderful. It made me miss the fact that Rings of Power did not have much of an environmental message in its 8 hours of season 1. I walked out of Avatar with like, oh my god, we should totally stop doing that environmental thing, or oh man, like save the oceans. And I'm like, this is a core tenet of Tolkien. And why did Cameron give me this feeling, and Rings of Power gave me nothing environmental?
There was the scene with Arondir and the elves.
Oh, when he talks to the tree.
Well, they wanted to defend the life of the tree and go around it. They just wanted to go around the tree.
But then he chooses his own life over the life of the tree, and he chops it down, and he apologizes.
Yep. And that was it. That was it.
Like 8 hours of storytelling, you couldn't work like the ecological disaster that this volcano means. I don't know. There was so much opportunity. Also, Cliff, you've told me about Tolkien wrote Numenor as, hoarding all of the good wood of Middle Earth for their ships.
They were responsible for a great deforestation. The Numenorians were responsible for world-class deforestation in Middle Earth. Big time.
Right. So you gave us 8 full hours of Middle Earth. Like, you could have worked some of that in.
Maybe it'll be season 2 or season 3. It'll be season 2 or season 3.
It's tight filmmaking. One thing, Cameron don't miss. James Cameron don't miss when it comes to sequels. And this Avatar is way better than the first one.
This Avatar has so many elements of his other underwater spectacular adventure film, The Abyss. I kind of felt like I was watching a hybrid of The Abyss and a hybrid of Avatar, and I was enjoying it. It was quite good.
Oh, there's so many shots in this movie where you're like, oh, he did that on Titanic, he did that on Terminator. I recognize that shot from Aliens. That was in The Abyss. He just copied himself in Blue Avatar Land.
Yeah.
So anyway, folks, please enjoy Avatar at the cinemas. Take your friends. It's WETA's pride and passion. You just saw at the top of the show, you just saw the early beginnings of WETA doing motion capture with a horse for Two Towers. We just showed you that on the show. 20 years later, they are going to win the Oscar for the effects of Avatar. If not Best Picture,
yes.
it will be nominated for Best Picture. It's that good. WETA has outdone themselves. What was started on Lord of the Rings, James Cameron has perfected. What started on Lord of the Rings, the high frame rate 3D on The Hobbit, and now James Cameron has perfected it. And WETA, congratulations! What a huge, huge show.
Yeah, congratulations to all the wonderful artists and sculptors and people, and Hannah, our good friend Hannah, and all the folks who worked so hard on that. Hello New Zealand. Hello to all the New Zealanders down there, hard at work on other films and things.
I have some Green Dragon gossip about it too, by the way.
Oh, before we close the show, can we go over to the Green Dragon, get a table by the fireplace, and then you and I can have some cheese and bread and fruit and a couple of pints, and you can tell me the gossip. What's the gossip, Mr. Justin?
The gossip is Green Dragon gossip. These are just rumors and innuendos, but during James Cameron was shooting Avatar: Way of the Water at WETA in New Zealand at the same time Rings of Power Season 1 was shooting. They were both in New Zealand. They were both working at WETA. James Cameron offered to help on Rings of Power. He offered his hand if J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay wanted help, advice, if they wanted to use his state-of-the-art motion capture studio. James Cameron basically sent out an olive branch of support to Rings of Power, and he was not called back.
He was not called back. You mean he offered his professional acumen and his insights, his creative insights, and he was not given a chance to come in and check things out.
James Cameron was not called back. And this was after Peter Jackson had told Amazon, I am happy to read your scripts, add input, and help you guys out. By the way, you guys are using WETA anyway, and you're using the New Zealand film industry. Peter Jackson offered to help, even without any credit. Peter Jackson just said, hey, and he went, remember a few months ago, Peter Jackson told The Hollywood Reporter that they never called him back. So Rings of Power was offered help by both Peter Jackson and James Cameron, and they did not call either of them back, even as a friendly courtesy. And that's the Green Dragon gossip. Whether it's true or not, that's what I've heard.
That's weird. That's a bit weird, isn't it? Those two directors have won Oscars for their work. Both of them are Best Picture winners, Best Director winners. In fact, Cliff, Return of the King did not set a record. It matched a record by James Cameron. Yeah, it did. It did. Indeed.
How do you not, if two of the most successful directors of all time reach out and say, hey, we know what it's like. We know the pressure that you're under. We're here to help. And they don't even get called back? Oh.
Isn't that weird? I mean, it's not like they would have been obligated to get Peter or James to come in and start working on the project.
No.
But imagine they could have at least bounced some ideas, maybe gotten some energy or some new advice about equipment, infrastructure, maybe some advice about what's available that they hadn't considered before. Because you know how it works, Justin. You don't know what you don't know, right? So maybe they could have gotten some useful advice and learned from people who had that much experience. I thought it would have been an interesting moment to get some personal insights from these great filmmakers. That's too bad. It's too bad. Isn't it?
And then a few weeks ago, Vanity Fair did an interview, and J.D. Payne and Patrick McKay asked James Cameron, how did he keep the secret of good guy Arnold in Terminator 2? The implication being that they thought the reveal of Sauron would be just as impactful as the reveal of the Terminator Arnold being the good guy protecting John Connor. I don't like. Why didn't you ask him when he was there in New Zealand working? Oh my goodness. Anyways,
yeah,
that's the gossip.
Ironic.
That's the gossip.
Ironic.
That's what I've heard.
Okay, intriguing.
So congrats.
That's intriguing.
Congrats to everybody at WETA. We look forward to seeing you at San Diego Comic-Con this coming year. And we fully expect War of the Rohirrim to make its big splashy debut at Comic-Con this year. And all systems go are on that. In fact, Miranda Otto's birthday was this last weekend. And she has...
Oh, well then. Happy birthday late to you, Miranda. That's awesome.
She has already recorded... Update. She's already recorded most of her lines
This is so cool.
War of the Rohirrim.
Looking forward to that. Looking forward to the War of the Rohirrim. Very much indeed.
There you go, Cliff.
It's gonna, you know what? It's gonna take some time. And again, we're all feeling that little twinge of personal impatience and anguish that we have to wait and wait and wait and wait for all these interesting things. The next season of Rings of Power can only get better, right? I mean, I am still optimistic that it was so earnest. Rings of Power may have been a little bit of a mixed bag in some regards, but it was majorly successful in some other large categories where the success was helpful, really helpful in getting all of us into it and getting interest in for seasons 2 through 4 or 5. There might be 5 seasons, right? So let's see what happens. And I'd like to leave the show on an optimistic note anyways. So we're getting ready to close down our program. It is 6:35. That means we've had an hour and a half, almost a feature film worth of fun with you guys. And we enjoyed that wonderful, wonderful revisit to the Two Towers and all the behind-the-scenes stuff they had and the extras on that weird little pan and scan disc that for some reason Justin has been holding on to this for all these decades now. But it was really cool, especially to see Sean Astin and his short film, The Long and Short of It. Thank you for revisiting that with me, Justin. That was really great stuff. So as we get out of here, I'm going to say, Justin, guess where I'm going tonight?
Where are you going?
You know how cool it is when they do Fellowship of the Ring and they have a live orchestra conducting all the music of Howard Shore along with the playback of the film? But
yeah.
I'm doing something similar to that, but it's Home Alone. I'm going to be at the Walt Disney Concert Hall with our orchestra doing a full screening of Home Alone with the live orchestra doing the music special. So I'm getting to go downtown right now as soon as we finish our show. It's going to be fun.
Oh, live
cool.
to live orchestra to screen.
Yeah, live orchestra.
Go ahead and tell them what we're going to talk about.
So
I think you're going to like what we're going to talk about. Why'd you lay it on? All right, I'll lay it on.
I don't know, but until we meet again, we need to say Happy Hanukkah and Merry Christmas and very happy holidays to everybody out there, because by the time we get back together, that was a bit, I think, from the MTV Music Video Awards. I'm pretty sure that's what that was, with Ben Stiller and what's-his-face talking to Peter Jackson. Yeah, that must have been from MTV and their Video Music Awards, or their movie awards programming. But you know what? Next week, I guess we're going to meet everybody after Christmas, right? Is that what's happening?
Yeah,
this 27th.
The Christmas is this weekend, so Merry Christmas, Happy Hanukkah.
It is upon us now. Everybody have a great holiday.
I hope you get your 4K Lord of the Rings box set that everybody wants. And
I hope you get your copy of Brian Sibley's newly edited The Fall of Numenor, all by J.R.R. Tolkien. Got to get your hands on that, guys.
How many people are going to watch the trilogy with the family this week? Come on. You're going to do it.
I'm watching. I'm actually probably going to watch The Two Towers with a friend of mine who's never ever seen it before. So I'm going to get that particular joy of somebody having a first-time reaction to the film. It's so cool.
Would you like to borrow my theatrical cut, full screen edition?
No, not for that. No. Bye. You're so funny. You're so funny.
The best version is pan and scan. Standard def. It's got scan lines on it.
It's time to say thank you again to everybody on Twitch and Twitter and Instagram and YouTube and Facebook and Discord. Find us, the One Ring Net on Discord, and join us there. Have a great time. And until next time, everybody, stay warm. Look out for that winter storm that's coming, and have a really wonderful Hanukkah and Christmas holiday. Have the best holidays. Be safe, everybody. We'll see you next Tuesday right here on the OneRing.net. You want to follow me online? I'm on Instagram and Twitter at QuickBeam2000. And that guy, that's Justin's big idea. So come and see us next Tuesday at 5 o'clock. Is there anything else you want to say, Justin, before we go? Anything else?
I can't wait to see all of your gifts, all of your Lord of the Rings gifts. And
show us the cool Tolkien gifts that you got over Christmas, and we'll talk about all that next Tuesday. All right? Hey, everybody, lots of love and prayers for peace on earth, goodwill to all men. Thank you, everybody. We'll see you next Tuesday. We're going to sign off and say good night and good luck, or better yet, buenos noches y buena suerte. Bye, everybody.
Bye now.